They keep watching me, all those people. They hate me, all those people. They watch me, all those people, yeah, just like me. And there's been borders and there's been boundaries, and there'll be borders, yeah, there'll be boundaries, 'cause everyone here hates everyone here for what they do, for what they do.
Hey friends, welcome back. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. So today I wanted to do an impressions video of the 50/50 prime frames. So originally I skated these frames for a couple sessions on my white FR UFRs, and then there's this new product that came out. It's called the Flebo buffers, and I skated those on the black FR UFRs for about 3 sessions. I'm calling this an impressions video just because I haven't really ridden the frames long enough to break them in. But I'll let you know why it's an impressions video and why I can't ride these frames longer to be able to give a full review. So hopefully the content in this video will be able to answer any questions you have and give you some really solid feedback about these frames. So this is the packaging that the 50/50 prime frames come in. If you are not familiar with 50/50 prime frames, they have this aluminum core, and the core itself has this arch to it, and then the 50/50s come with sidewalls, and the end bolts or the end axles are what basically tie the sidewalls to the frame. And then I don't know if you can see or not, but the inside axles actually bolt to the sidewalls themselves. So what makes the prime frame so special is that there's a whole marketplace dedicated to basically customizing and making new sidewalls out of 3D printers that are completely interchangeable, and then they connect to this aluminum prime frame, and that just allows a lot of versatility with designing and being able to ride other products on this frame. So one thing to note, one side of the frame, it's got kind of horizontal bolts, so when you're tightening it, it locks it on one side, and then you only need one Allen key to loosen it. The set that I purchased was the 270mm. I think that's the size large, and I got them in the gold color. The gold axles, one thing to note about those is that they don't actually come with any thread lock on them. I have another set of 50/50s that came with the silver axles, and those actually did have thread lock. Not sure if mine just came without it, but if you ever get axles without thread lock, go ahead and just put it on just to make sure they don't loosen up on you when riding. So here's the thing that I love about these frames is the H-block. This H-block is relatively deep. It's got these really nice chamfers on the side, and what makes that so special is a lot of people, when they do like Farfignugens or Unities or certain like sole or topside tricks, their foot may not be exactly perpendicular to the surface. So what happens is you get kind of this angle and pitch to your foot, and by having a wider groove that's a little deeper, it really allows, you know, whatever you're skating to basically conform and groove out the way that you skate, which I think is like completely customizable to your style of skating once you break these in, and I think that's really great. The frames themselves, I love that, you know, it's completely flat. A lot of frames these days have, you know, like Balance 2 frames have like little nubs. If you do Create Originals, they have kind of this elevated surface along the sides and the bottom. Them frames is something similar. It's thicker on the bottom. I'm a big proponent of trying to keep the sidewalls a little thicker because thicker, because if you skate kind of slimmer sole plates, you know, the thickness of the frame chews away from the width of the sole plate and can make like top sides or certain tricks more difficult, just because you got a lot of plastic there. So that's absolutely the things that I love. These things slid really fast. I'm not going to provide any comments on the Flebo buffers because it really changed the way that these frames ride for me, but I'm going to do a separate review on these, or impressions video, and it's going to be the video basically posted right after this one, so be on the lookout for it if you're interested in this product. But basically, short story is, these are advertised at absorbing shock and dampening sound. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. Now, let me get into the thing that I don't like about these, is the aluminum core. And so what the aluminum does is it, one, it's got a higher density than the nylon, so it means that the frames are heavier. I didn't really notice the weight when I was skating. What I did notice is how rigid these frames are. And the rigidity is absolutely great for power transfer, as long as you've got a really good connection to the sole plate. If you've got any kind of play between the sole plate and the boot, it can translate to some loss of power. I'll get into that when I talk about the Flebo review. I skated these anti-rocker, that's the way I skate, and I loved the setup, but I did notice that riding anti-rocker, it put a lot more, I guess, what's the word for it? I would say torque on the wheels, because this is so rigid that if you're doing like deep curves, or like you catch a wheel a little bit, like when you land, what that does is translate straight to the core of the wheel versus, basically translating that force throughout the frame. I don't know if that makes sense, but, I was skating these with the Chroma wheels, the Stefan Brandos, and before I started skating them, it was fine. But then as I was skating them, I noticed a lot of creaking with the wheels, and I think what it was doing is because this is so stiff, it was causing the bearings to kind of like torque around inside the wheel a little bit. Now skating them back on my Create Originals, I've noticed some creaking. So I would say if you're going to ride these frames, probably a flat setup is going to be the best option. I did skate these frames. When I did my edit of the frames, I tried to hit a little bit of everything. I tried to hit, some landings, some spins, rails, coping, ledges, just to truly get a feel of how this does on everything that I like to skate. So if you're like me and a park skater, hopefully you enjoy the edit, because I really put a lot of effort into trying to hit a lot of different elements just to showcase how these frames hold up. And overall, I think the nylon that they use for the sidewalls is amazing. The aluminum cores, I do feel like, because of how rigid it is, I noticed that, so I skated on back-to-back days over a weekend, and what that did, and basically like that entire next week, my legs just felt absolutely dead. And so what that means is the aluminum just zaps my legs and makes it really hard for me to ride. I threw in one extra day the following weekend, just to get some more clips on these, but even then, like, skating the following day was just brutal. I felt like I had no energy, my knees were kind of sore and tired. So that's kind of the reason I'm not going to be skating these frames anymore, unless there's some better shock absorption options. But if you're really looking for something, like if you've got good knees, if you're looking for something highly customizable, lots of power transfer, this frame is for you. If you love deep grooves combined with the aluminum core, then the sidewalls are for you. Overall, really like this frame, except for the shock absorption. Like that piece alone is going to make me not skate these. I will probably just hold on to them in case some other shock absorption products come on the line, or if I try and skate, you know, some different skates, I might go back to them for a day and just see like, okay, how do they compare on different skates or various products. But in the meantime, I'm just not going to skate them unless I have, you know, a reason to. But anyway, hopefully this review was helpful, and let me know if you guys have any questions or what you think about these frames. Thanks for checking in, and hope you guys all have a good weekend.